Appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning. That was great. Thank you, guys. I should also say bonjour, but French with a Texas accent just doesn't cut it. You know, it just doesn't work. So I promise I won't hurt your ears anymore with foreign languages. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'd like to thank Jahia for the opportunity as well to come and talk with you. I started the portal practice at Gartner. That was another thing, by the way, I did create. The portal practice at Gartner 18 years ago when I joined the company. And those were heady days, a lot of activity, a lot of vendors coming in and eventual consolidation, as we always see in those kinds of markets. But about 8 years ago, I saw some patterns. That's one thing that they pay us to do at Gartner, is find patterns. Look for patterns ahead of the actual instantiation of new markets and new technologies. I saw a pattern of a platform around the portal. You didn't just put a portal out, you put a portal and you put content, you put mobile, in some early mobile days, you put collaboration and analytics, a search engine. This collection of things, a platform, became the UXP, the user experience platform. I started writing about that 8 years ago, and because Jahia is a major player in that space, I've been working with these guys over several years. When they asked me to do the keynote here at the conference, I looked at my material and said, okay, well, I can do a standard UXP presentation, you know, soup to nuts, what is a UXP, and those kinds of things. But I said, you know what? Let's don't do that this time. Let's talk about how you use a UXP to make money for your business, to improve your market share in the industries you're in, to engage your customers. So we're going to focus today's conversation on how a UXP can be used to engage customers and to move forward in the world of digital business. Some of you are already in the world of digital business. Most of you are not. All of you will be at some point in time if your company survives. And that's a big if, because digital business will disrupt many industries and disrupt many companies in those industries. So let's jump into the conversation here and talk about this. We see it on the smartphone here. I don't know if you can read the print, but it says Banana Republic, 30% off today, proceed left 30 feet. Okay, so what's happened here is this person's in the mall, see the mall in the background there. They're in the mall, they're walking around, a beacon sees them and lights up the app on their smartphone and says, hey, come back, do a U-turn, come back in the store, 30% off coupon just for today. That's pretty cool. I like that. So leveraging mobile apps, leveraging new beacon technology. So this guy turns around and walks back in the store. When he walks in the store, the application on the tablet of a sales associate lights up and says, hi, because a beacon saw me walk in the store, Gene just walked in. Here's Gene's picture. Here's Gene's buying profile. Here's the demographics. Here's his salary level. And Gene likes to either buy from the high price stuff or the sales rack. So go find Gene and hold his hand and take him over there where he likes to buy stuff. And that app is out there today, guys. This is not experimental. This is not blue sky. This is reality. This is how retail has evolved. And the use of hyper-accurate location detection, the use of beacons and geofencing allows this kind of thing to happen in a retail scenario. And this has become the expectation for a lot of your customers. And even if it's not your customers, your employees are customers. They deal with this when they go to the mall, and they bring that expectation back to you in the office that you work in. So expectations are high for customer experience, for user experience. And that expectation has to be met somehow. So we think by 2017, more than half of consumer product and service R&D investments are going to be focused at the customer and the customer experience. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So as we start to see the world of digital business evolve, where we start to bring people, business and things together. You heard about the Internet of Things, right? Bring those things into the equation. How are businesses going to evolve? So we're going to talk a little bit about some interesting things that are popping up there in the world of digital business. Printer cosmetics. Wow, that's different. You take a picture of a color palette, Bluetooth connection over to this little device, and it's a 3D printer. It prints cosmetics right there on demand. Wow, I'm glad this thing wasn't around when my daughters were teenagers. I probably couldn't afford to feed this thing enough money. But think about the disruption here. And not just printing cosmetics, but printing spare parts, printing regular manufactured parts, printing prosthetic arms, printing skin, which they're doing, printing food. A Star Trek replicator, food replicator, remember that one, the Star Trek fans? Guess what? It's a 3D printer, and we've got them in the very early stages of it. What kind of implication is this going to have for digital business? Manufacturing will never be the same. Supply chains are going to be disrupted all over the place. Logistics is going to be very, very different because of the impact of 3D printing in the world of digital business. How about the world of healthcare? Check your blood glucose with a pair of contact lenses that detects the tears in your eyes and can tell you your blood glucose level. If any of you guys have diabetics in the family, my mother-in-law is, she has to take her blood every time before a meal, and then she has to give herself an insulin injection based upon the blood sample. This thing detects your blood glucose within every few milliseconds and can tell you when you need a hit of insulin or to eat a particular piece of food. This type of device that we're going to be wearing, whether it be like Fitbits on our arm. How many guys have a Fitbit or similar device on your arm? Anybody out there? Only a handful. You know what? Gartner gave us these things. So this is a gift from my company, but gifts never are free, right? So they give it to me to make me think about how I exercise, how many miles I walk a day, and they invite me to join the club of Gartner employees that are all their data is going up to some cloud in the sky, so I can have a little competition amongst my colleagues in Gartner, a little gamification thing, right? Now, that's all good. I'm sure there's a lot of positive value there. But where else is that data going? Yeah. Is that data going to go to my insurance company? Ooh, yeah, that's a little scary. So one of the things that we're going to run into here is the impact of data and privacy, and how we have to be hyper vigilant about all this data we're collecting here and where it goes. Very, very careful. But here in the case of the contact lens that can detect your glucose, healthcare will never be the same. Guess what other industry is going to change? Insurance. Because they are going to start to get this data. They're going to start using this data to price policies. That's going to be very interesting. We're going to start to see the impact of that. How about autonomous cars? You ride in your car. You don't drive your car, you ride in your car. If you're out in the San Francisco Bay Area, you see this little Google guy running around all over the place. But they're not just limited to there. They're autonomous cars. I think Volvo's got some stuff over here. Renault's got some stuff over in the European continents. All right? What's the implication there? Well, manufacturing of cars, that's for one. That's going to change in a very, very big way. How about things like transportation, where I don't have to have taxi drivers? I don't have to have truck drivers. There's already a pilot of an 18-wheeler, autonomous 18-wheeler, running around in the west of the U.S. That scares me to death, actually. Imagine this big monster truck coming down the road without a driver in it. Oh, God, I don't know if I'm ready for that. But it's coming. It's coming. Another major disruption here is insurance. This Google car and similar Google autonomous cars have had 13 accidents so far. 13 in the hundreds, actually millions of miles that they put on the road. And all 13 of those accidents were not caused by the car. They were caused by either the driver of the car, who stepped in to do something he shouldn't have done, or somebody else that hit the car. So again, these things are really good already, and they're just in generation one. They're very, very early stage technology. Massive disruption in various industries. So digital business is going to cause it. I want to wrap up with one more example of a digital business item. This little device is called Amazon Dash. Okay? It is a branded device that allows me to order products through Amazon. What happens is this one is branded for Tide laundry detergent, right? Tide laundry detergent. So I stick this little button on the laundry machine where I keep my laundry detergent, right? And when I run out of laundry detergent, I push a little button. It uses Wi-Fi to communicate to Amazon, and magically the next morning, a new jug of laundry detergent shows up in my door. Wow, that's amazing stuff. Again, this is brand new, but it's out there, starting to get out there. Any consumable, whether it's laundry detergent, paper towels, you name it. I can have a little button there, and when I run out of them, push a button, boom, magically it shows up the next day. Massive changes in retail, in CPG, major disruption in lots of industries. So these are just 4 little mundane examples of the kind of things we're going to be dealing with. And we've got to get ready for them. Think about got a little washout on the screen here. What this should say, and you may want to take this for the next presentation, is that digital moments are transient opportunities exploited dynamically. Transient opportunities exploited dynamically. They kind of come and go with the wind, and if you're ready for them, you can jump on them and exploit them. If you're not ready for them, if you don't have the right kind of technology infrastructure, the right kind of business processes in place, the right kind of skilled people in place, that transient opportunity is going to go away, and somebody else will take advantage of it. So think in terms of business moments as ways to engage in the world of digital business. This is also washed out, unfortunately, here. Design specification for a digital business. Number 1, customer engagement. And we're going to focus the rest of our conversation on that. How do I engage my customers? And some of you may be saying, you know what, customers are great, but I'm not retail, so this is not applicable to me. But you're wrong. You have lots of customers. If you are a public sector organization, your customers are your citizens, right? If you are an internal organization dealing with your employees, your customers are your employees as well. We used to use terms like big C and little c to talk about that. So this concept of customer engagement applies to any audience you're dealing with. We are going to give you some specific details around retail, around various consumer type engagements, but again, think in the broader definition of customers. Security and risk. Because we're gathering tremendous amounts of data, 4, 5, 6 orders of magnitude more data than we have before. And many of that is about me. It's privacy data. It's PII, personally identifiable information. We've got to really crank it up in the world of privacy and security. Not just in the case of regulatory application, the cookie law and that kind of fun stuff, but I'm talking about all these new attributes you're gathering. How do you manage them and allow your users to manage them in the way that they want them to be managed? That's going to become very, very critical here. And finally, digital product and service innovation. How do I come up with printable cosmetics and autonomous cars? How do I skate ahead of the puck to find that new innovation that's going to take my business forward in the industry? So one thing I wanted to talk about from a customer engagement perspective is, did I go too far? Yes, I did. Experiences. Do you sell products or do you sell experiences? Interesting. Many of you know about Starbucks. There's Starbucks all over the world, right? In America, they're on every corner, literally. They're all over the place. Starbucks was one of the early innovators. And I was out at Starbucks in Seattle about 2 months ago and was talking to him about this, about selling experiences. How can you take a commodity product like coffee beans, a penny or 2 pennies for the beans, turn it into a pot of coffee, maybe 25 cents, and to sell it for $5? It's obviously you're not selling just the product. You're selling the experience, the sofas where you can sit and talk with your friends, the free Wi-Fi, which they were one of the early pioneers of that in the store. The environment is what they're selling, and that's how they can charge $5 a cup. for a cup of coffee. Sell experiences, don't sell products. And we're shifting from products to experiences into the experience economy. And there's a build right here at the bottom. You can barely see it, but I'm going to try to bring that out here. At the NRF conference, the National Retail Federation conference in January of this year, a survey was taken. 89% of retailers plan to compete on CX in the near future. 89% of retailers. That makes me worry about the 11% that's not. What the heck are they thinking about, right? Okay? But this is big, guys. This is absolutely a big, big deal. We also see a lot of good best practice organizations. The good old logo chart we see here of folks that really deliver and express tremendous customer experience. I want to give you one example, though. Disney. Now, you guys have been to from Disneyland outside of Paris, probably been to Orlando, many of you have. I took my 5-year-old granddaughter, who's beautiful, by the way, on a Disney cruise about 3-4 months ago. My wife and I did. That was amazing. She's a little princess. She's a 5-year-old little princess. And the princesses on the cruise, they let her into the Princess Club. She felt like she was one of them. Every time they saw her, they knew her by name. They would come up and talk to her, give her big hugs. It was an amazing experience. But they didn't do that just on a whim. They did that because they're very, very good at it. They make it personal, targeted toward the little girl or little boy. They make it contextual. Many different contexts of interaction, whether you're on the beach, whether you're at the pirate party, whether you're just walking around the ship. Very contextual focus. They focus on events and moments. They have a tremendous product, and they have a culture of customer experience and customer engagement. They work hard at it. It doesn't just happen. They spend a ton of money on it. It's not free either. But you have to work at it. You have to have this culture. You have to spend the right kind of money on it to get to the level of customer experience that you see from a Disney. So what is customer experience? Here's our quick definition. Customer perspective and related feelings caused by the one-off and cumulative effect of interactions. Every touch point you have between your organization and your customers, whether that be a storefront, whether that be a direct sales force, whether that be a reseller, a VAR or a VAD or some kind of distributor, whether it be your systems and processes. My little ugly flow chart that's hiding here. Many of you, your customer experience is direct exposure to your back office systems. That's how your websites look. They mirror what your back office looks like. That's the wrong answer, folks. Customers don't want to know that. They don't want to know that you've got an accounting department and a finance department and service department. They want to know, here's where I go to get help. But many of us have just taken the org chart and built our websites and our systems to look just like the org chart. Shame on us, but that's how it's happened. You may have contact centers. You may have IVRs. You've got websites. You got a variety of mobile apps. But the pointing finger here, it's about you too. If customer experience doesn't permeate the entire organization, it's not going to work. Top to bottom, bottom to top. It has to be a cultural thing. So you can have all these wonderful websites and mobile apps, but if the organization isn't focused on customer experience and customer engagement, you're only going to be partially successful. This chart came about a week ago. Literally, I got it just in time. CEO survey for this year. And this is a CEO survey, not a CIO survey, but a CEO survey of technology investments. Look at what's number one with a bullet. Customer experience. Look at what's number two with a bullet. Digital marketing. And this is across a wide array of CEOs. This isn't just retail. This is manufacturing. This is even public sector. CEOs care about this. They are focused on this. They want this. And if they haven't already talked to you about it, they will be talking to you about how to make this happen in your organization. We see a lot of organizations that have brought a new role in, a role called the Chief Customer Officer, CCO. Now, the CCO can take on be under other titles. It might be under the CMO. It might be under a business unit. 25% of them report to the CEO. Wow, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal. So whether they're called CCO or something else doesn't matter. The role is appearing in lots of organizations. This list of companies here in these industry segments are just a handful of examples where this role has already appeared. This is another area of focusing the right kind of resources and energy on customer experience. Having this high-level executive that's responsible for it, that's making it happen, that works with IT, that works with marketing, that works with corporate communications. That's what's important here to bring the CCO role to bear. Customer experience also has a major impact on brand equity. Now, that impact can be positive. It can be negative too. I can really hurt my brand equity by having a poor customer experience. So you have to think about it in brand equity terms. And also you have to think about the concept that perception is reality. Doesn't matter whether logically it's correct. If the perception is it's bad, it's bad. It's not fair, that's just life. Perception is reality. So brand equity, why you want it? It drives loyalty, it drives new customers to you, it retains existing customers. Right? It increases the customer spend, the average spend. These are all goals that we need to be shooting for and driving toward positive brand equity. A lot of folks also confuse customer experience with user experience. And we kind of draw a line between those two things, right? Customer experience, we've been talking about, the touch point to the customer, the sum of all the interactions. User experience tends to be more focused on the systems and the tools and the products. So my website, I get a user experience from that website. My mobile apps, I get a user experience from those mobile apps. If I got a product, I get a user experience from that product. Those are part of the customer experience. You see, as we have in the chart here, UX is a part of CX, but only a part of CX. We also call user experience digital experience. You'll see that term used a lot as well. This is an area where IT actually can have a significant impact, perhaps the most impact. You can't go out and decide how you're going to build new retail stores. That's outside the scope of IT. But can you decide how to do this for the websites, portal sites, and mobile apps you build? Sure you can. Absolutely you can, and you should do that. Let's talk about the impact of consumerization. Every day, your customers are out there using Google Apps, using iPhones, using a variety of tools in the consumerization world. Many of those tools show up in your enterprise. Your employees bring them in as well, right? The bar is set every time somebody uses a consumer-grade tool. The ease of use of those things can be very, very powerful. They want ease of use, they want flexibility and power at the same time. And they expect them to be delivered by you. So again, expectations are set by powerful and flexible, yet simple tools. They are the new benchmark for design. You also have to think about new paradigms of interaction. It's not just keyboards and mice, it's not just touch on a screen, it's motion, it's voice. It's a variety of other things. Eye movement and the new world of wearable devices. How am I going to glance? So just a quick flip of the wrist is a method of interaction. So new tools are coming out that demand new modes of interaction that will drive that user experience as well. And finally, on the methodologies, whether it be persona, customer journeys and journey maps, interaction patterns, usability testing, user-centered design, all of those aspects of user experience have to come together to deliver the most powerful and compelling user experience possible. So we have a model here, a maturity model, and it is a little bit weird. So I'm going to have to really kind of work on this one here. So it's got to think between the Mac and the PC, that's what happened here. So we have the very beginning of the maturity model, getting started, a very fragmented focus. By the way, 45% of you are in that phase one. of the maturity model. So don't feel that you're alone there, because that's where almost half the room is sitting in phase one of this customer experience maturity model. Moving to the second era, where we have a developing and a defined status. Here, voice of the customer is validated. You actually have a way to understand what the customer needs are, and that feeds into your processes for product design, for customer support and service, for your new websites and mobile apps. Over here, define, your executives start to be engaged. It becomes an accountability of many executives to deliver customer service. It's not just lip service anymore. Over here in the 3, staying on top, very few people here. Managed and optimized. Managed, we actually start to see the customer experience on parity with profitability. Think about that. Customer experience is as important as the profits. You don't hardly see that anywhere, right? But for the companies that really engage in customer experience, they treat it to that level, that they care as much about customer experience as they do about profits. So, again, most folks are on the left trying to get to the right. Very few are over here. The numbers are shifting a little bit. We're redoing this chart. We're seeing the numbers shifting a little bit to the right, but only a little bit. Figure out where you are in the maturity model. Figure out how you need to go to the right, because you would love to be over here somewhere in phase 3, but hardly anybody is at this point. We want to move from the last best experience to the best next experience. How do we do that? I've got a chart here, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing here. I want to focus on 2 particular areas here. Number 1, data. Data-driven. I need to use real observed data about the interaction between my customers and my stuff, my websites, my portals, my mobile apps. Use data-driven approaches to analyze what they are doing, where they're going, and what I need to do to change things. So maybe things like website optimization, A/B and multivariate testing. It's the use of analytics. But data-driven design is a very critical aspect of delivering a powerful user experience. And also, down at the bottom of the chart here, the Digital Humanist Manifesto. We focus so much on technology, sometimes we forget the people. That's a bad thing, because people, after all, are the users of our technology, the people who buy our products and services. So we've come up with this concept of the Digital Humanist Manifesto. Number 1, put people at the center of everything you do. Put people at the center of all your designs, all your interaction, and your customer experience strategies. Number 2, embrace unpredictability, because you don't necessarily know how everything's going to play out. Have agility built into your strategy. Have agility built into your technology and infrastructure plans. And number 3, respect personal space. Back to that privacy thing. If you collect data about me, make sure I have the ability to manage how that data is used. And absolutely make sure you conform to whatever laws and regulations are in place at that point in time. There's also a design process that we've seen and a methodology that we've seen over and over and over again. So, for example, start with user-centered design, the user, the center of the universe, a continuous improvement process. Agile development, by the way, UX has a key role to play in agile development, in an iterative, continuous development process. There's a lot of good research out there about that. Based upon objective data and behavior, again, observe data with design patterns, key scenarios, instrumentation, again, and analytics. And finally, the real reason we do this, driving business value. It's all about how we support the business. And all these things have to be in place for this design process to work. We talked a little bit about customer journeys and journey maps. How do you guide the customer across your websites, across your service and support and commerce sites, across the various touch points you have with them? How do you lead them by the pinky versus the nose? And that's a very important aspect here. If you lead them by the nose, they will revolt. They will go somewhere else and spend money with somebody else. Lead them by the pinky, many times they'll go with you. So in other words, a light touch A very light touch is what's required here. And again, building journey maps that then turn into technology processes. This is where it gets hard. Because I can build a journey map. I can put a poster on a wall like this one right here, right? I can do that, and many of you are doing that. How do I turn that into technology that has process orchestration steps to move the customer along the journey and carry their data with them and move them to the places I want them to be? That's much harder to do. Right now, a lot of that is brute force. It just is. But the tools are getting better. They're generation 1 tools, but they're getting better to facilitate programming that customer journey. What you're trying to get to, a consistent, orchestrated, cross-channel experience. Some people call this omnichannel. Same concept, same exact concept. So all my channels, whether they be online or offline, all my devices, all my websites, I have a consistent flow through them, and I orchestrate the journey across all those channels and all those devices. Again, the tooling today is early for that, but it's starting to appear. You want to get to the world of seamless interaction and integration. You have to think beyond your brand processes and products. But again, we're in generation 1 on the tooling. So prepare for a lot of maturation, a lot of growing up of these tools over time. Again, getting to the world of multi-channel, multi-device is very critical here. Mobile first is a mantra that most of our clients have embraced. I've seen a few people embrace mobile only. Oh, yeah. I don't know about that. I'm not quite ready to go there yet, but I have seen a few people that have done that. Mobile first, absolutely, because it's so much easier to build something focused on mobile and then back into web versus focus on web and then back into mobile. Mobile first is a key aspect of this. Build for agility, utilizing services model, the RESTful API approach to the world, which gives me ultimate flexibility to produce services that can be consumed by lots of places, websites, portal sites, mobile apps. Build for agility because you don't know what tomorrow's going to look like in many cases. And I got to have that agility built in to deliver that future world. Don't sacrifice functionality. Focus on rich versus reach. You got to make sure that you deliver broad functionality, broad capabilities across many devices, but also very deep functionality in those respective devices. And plan for the future. A couple of things for the future here I want to point out. I mentioned beacons. These are beacons. You'd stick them to the wall. The battery life is 2 years. And they can tell me when I walk in your store or walk by your store or I'm standing in a particular aisle of your store looking at this product set. And I can tell by how long I stand there whether I'm contemplating buying it. Maybe I need a little enticement. Send me a coupon. This stuff is really powerful technology. This is a Nest thermostat. Google bought Nest 3 years ago. You think Google bought Nest because they want to be in the thermostat business? No. They bought Nest because it opens a port to your home. Yeah, it does. A port that Google can use to communicate with you, to sell you stuff, to gather data from you. Now, of course, you have to opt into it. But a port into your home is why Google bought Nest. Here we have a smartwatch. How many of you guys got an Apple Watch? I got to see. Let me see. Anybody out there? Oh, about 2, 3 of you. Okay, not too many of you. I'm waiting on Gen 2, by the way. I always wait for Gen 2 products for something that different to come out. But there'll be a few folks that have jumped on this and they seem to like them. Wearables are going to start to deliver a new interface paradigm. The glance is a new interface paradigm we have to think about. Very different than using a smartphone or a PC. And also the kind of things, because of the built-in feature of the smartwatch, I can start to do a lot of the quantified self to capture many aspects of my health care and health information. Over here, we have a Leap motion controller, a device that's about the size of a USB memory stick. You sit in front of a monitor, and essentially it recognizes your motion. Turns a regular monitor into a touchscreen. Well, this just came out about 2 weeks ago. This is, you see the scale of this is about the same. This is a chip that does that. And this is going to be built into lots and lots of products. So motion control is about to become a major way to interface with your systems. Again, agility for the future, because we don't know about everything that's going to come out. Things are changing so rapidly out there. We have to be agile for the future. Understand the interaction points about your data, about your customers. A C360 view, customer 360, every degree. I gather data and I understand about that customer. But key points here. They have to work within the regulatory world, again, the cookie laws and things like that, and avoid the creepiness factor. If you capture too much data about me and use it in ways I'm not expecting, that becomes creepy. And I don't like that. And I blog about how creepy that is and how bad you are as a company. Okay? So make sure that you have people opt in to the use of the data. Don't just assume anything. Force them to opt in and give them control, granular control over the data attributes that they capture from you. That's very important to avoid this creepiness factor. We used to say content is king. It's no longer king. Content in context is king. I've got to add context to it for it to make sense in my organization. The various models out there around contextual architecture, every one of them is proprietary. There is a standards effort underway today that Jahia is a member of, driving a lot of that. That's where I think the world's going to evolve to a set of standards around context. We're not there yet, but the good news is that we're moving that direction, and Jahia is a very big player in that. And also thinking about how context comes into targeting, because we talk about digital marketing, targeting is very important. And it's not just demographics. It's not just my sex, my age, where I live, how much money I make. It's psychographics. It's prior buying trends. It's peer set trends. It's the device I'm on. It's the location I'm at this moment in time. All those are attributes, plus some, that go into targeting. And I've got to be able to manage all those attributes and share them with my digital commerce and with my customer service and support and with my sales websites. I've got to have a common and consistent way to deal with that. So when you go into the world of customer experience, we have a checklist. I'm not going to go through the whole checklist here, but this is, fairly standard approach to a lot of technology projects. I want to dive more deeply into the technology piece here, because after all, we are talking about user experience platforms. This lady, I know you probably never run into anybody like that in your organization, but I have. They're not fun. Whether it's a lady or a guy, if they're not happy, they're not happy. The problem is the stuff we do takes too long, costs too much, delivers too little. And it's a common theme out there. That's why so many marketing guys have gone and done their own thing. They basically fire their IT department, take the money over here and spend it with a digital agency, spend it with a system integrator, hire marketing technologists, you see that out there nowadays, to get the job done, to get what they want done and what they need done. Now the right answer is IT and the business works together as partners, as trusted partners. But there's been so many problems in the past that sometimes we see this going on. It's not a good thing at all, but I do see it out there. So the root causes, traditional IT cycle times are just too darn long. The solutions are very complex and very expensive. And we design things without really understanding the users and the use cases. So we miss the mark. These are all symptoms of a big problem. How is IT going to deal with this? Number one, have a culture of customer experience within IT. And that's going to come from the top of the organization. It's going to have to be a top-down type of implementation of a culture change, where you focus on the user experience. Again, that one thing that IT can do really, really well as part of the broader customer experience. You look at bimodal approaches. Mode one being your traditional processes, traditional systems, back office systems. Mode two, rapid turn, innovative systems, different environments. I used to call them quick and dirty. But segmenting systems into mode 1 versus mode 2, taking mode 1 data and then making it consumable by mode 2 systems, but treating them differently, recognizing a lot of the new innovations are going to come in the world of mode 2. I mentioned the RESTful APIs and things like that, and foundational infrastructure. One big piece, user experience platforms. I'm absolutely convinced that a user experience platform is the right technology infrastructure to deploy to support your customer experience and customer engagement initiatives. On the user experience side, the technologies out there go beyond user experience platforms, however, things like journey builders, things like tools around user experience. I illustrate this with Tandem 7's UX 360 tool. Approaches like design thinking, like training in universities. You can go hire kids out of college, and I call them kids because they are kids out of college that are trained in design. Places like Stanford, places like Carnegie Mellon, they're turning out these graduates. Bring them into your organization, seed them throughout your organization. They bring wonderful new thinking into the game here. The Chief Customer Officer I mentioned a little bit earlier, as well as changes in the vendor landscape. System integrators and digital agencies getting married, or actually one buying the other is how it works out, okay? But we see this happening out there. So you can go to a Deloitte Digital, or an Accenture Interactive, or an IBM Interactive, and a long, long list of others out there that have traditional SI and digital agencies in a single company, and they can bring both sets of needs to bear in a particular project. And the good old user experience platform charts. So I want to wash that a little bit on this one, but you guys saw the earlier version of it. A rationalized, integrated collection of technologies for your websites, portal sites, and mobile apps. Rationalized, so I don't have 5 or 10 tools that do the same thing. I have 1 or 2. And by the way, I can have more than 1. Maybe 2 is not a bad number if it's a good business reason to have more than 1. But I rationalize down to a manageable number, and I integrate that stuff so that every new project that comes in doesn't have to do integration. They inherit a set of integrated technologies, and they can just build the app on top of that platform. That's the goal here. That's the goal here. And again, various aspects of the user experience platform, you guys have seen that, and you're going to hear a lot more about that this week. One thing I don't have on this chart that I'm going to have on the next version of it is what's underneath this. There's a data layer there. Especially when I talk about customer-centric user experience platforms, I've got to have rationalized data as well. I've got to have a single logical customer profile. May not be one physical customer profile, but a single logical one, absolutely. I've got to have a common way to deal with audience segmentation. So there's a lot of data aspects under this model as well, under the platform, that when I look at a customer-centric deployment of this, I've got to have that data house in order as well. And finally, we wrap it up here with a look at the future. The market around user experience platforms is relatively new. It just really emerged. We have a variety of market tools and market reports within Gartner that those of you that are Gartner clients can get your hands on those and encourage you guys to do that. But the market's going to continue to evolve. We're going to see more players come into the game. We're going to see vertical or narrow use cases applying this toward maybe a citizen experience platform. We're going to see those kind of things emerge over time as well. We're going to see technology evolved around mobile, especially around location-based services, the beacons and geofencing and things like that are going to become much, much bigger. And by the way, that's not just for retail. If I have an employee-centric set of services, I can put beacons in there that says that this employee is this part of the building, he has access to this physical part of the wing. Again, beacons can be in other scenarios besides retail scenarios. Analytics is going to go wild, already has gone wild with big data. It's going to go even wilder here as we start to see Internet of Things generating all these huge volumes of information. If we don't have the right kind of analytics tools in place, we're going to be dead. But analytics is critical as well in understanding how to do customer engagement appropriately. Tooling around HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript continues to be a big move. Cloud delivery continues to be a big move as well. The user experience methodologies I mentioned earlier, things like persona, journey maps, those kind of things, programmatic support for those is what's right around the curve. So we don't have to keep all that stuff in PowerPoint charts anymore. We can actually use it to program our solutions. What a concept. And finally, improvements supporting broad customer journeys that span across my customer service, my customer support, my digital commerce, my digital marketing. Right now, those are mostly silos in the organization, but they're not silos to your customers. They're part of the way they want to do business with you. So spanning across those silos, allowing those journeys across those silos is a very, very critical piece here. And we're going to see more programmatic support for that as well. And finally, one last thing that's not on this chart, the context stuff. We'll start to see industry efforts around context architectures and context management, allowing your users to decide which of those attributes they want to share with you or share with others, and giving them the controls to do that, as well as a model that you can consume those attributes consistently across the customer journey. User experience platforms, critical tool for customer engagement, a critical tool for partner engagement, for citizen engagement, for employee engagement as well. I hope you learned a few things today. Good luck with the conference this week. Have a great rest of the week. Take care.